Okay, here we are on the homepage of our new project. You can see that you can add Firebase to your iOS, Android, and web applications. And when you click these, you can see the documentation about the steps involved. Now, the documentation for adding this to a web app is just a general JavaScript documentation. Adding Firebase to an Angular app is slightly different, and that's what I'm going to show you in this section. Now, let's have a quick tour of some of the features you get here. So, on the left side, on this sidebar, we have our database. So this is where all our data will be stored. Now, if you have any experience with databases, you know that in general, we have two types of databases: relational databases and NoSQL databases, which are also called document databases. In relational databases, we have tables and relationships, and each table has one or more records. We refer to the combination of these tables and their structure as the schema of the database. In NoSQL databases, we don't have schema. In fact, we don't have any tables. We don't have any columns. Our database is essentially a tree of nodes. Each node is a key value pair. Now, this value can be a simple primitive value, or it can be a complex object. MongoDB is an example of a NoSQL database. Firebase databases are also NoSQL databases. Let's have a look at an example. So here we have the root node of our database. Under this, I'm going to add a node called courses. So this is for listing all the courses in our application. Now you can see that each node has a name and value. Now I don't want to assign a primitive value to this node. I want to make this a complex object. So I click this plus here. And you can see now we have a child under courses. Again, this child has a name and value. I'm going to set the name to 1 and the value to course 1. So now you see we have a tree of nodes in our database. I'm going to add another child node under courses. So here, plus, I'm going to set the name to 2 and the value to course 2. Now, one thing I want you to pay attention to here is that each node in this database can have a different structure. That's why we refer to this kind of database as a NoSQL or schema-less database. Here's an example. So all our courses have an ID and a name. Now, I'm going to add another course here. I'm going to set the ID to 3, but for the value, I'm not going to use a string like course 3. I want the value to be a complex object. So I'm going to click this plus. Now we have a child under this node. Here in this child node, I'm going to set the name to title and the value to course 3. Now look at the result. So our third course is an object, and this object has a property called title. You can add another property here under 3. Let's set the author, Mosh Hamedani. Now we have 2 properties, and let's add one more here. So let's set the price. This time I'm going to use a number. Let's say $150. So what I want you to note here is that each node in this database can have a different structure. Our first 2 courses are simple key value pairs. Values are strings, but our third course, its value is a complex object with 3 properties: author, price, and title. If you have never worked with this kind of database before, this might be new to you. It might be a little bit scary, but in fact, this is extremely powerful, super fast, and super scalable. But the downside of this structure is that it's not optimized for reporting. So unlike traditional relational databases where we can join multiple tables and run complex queries against them, we cannot do that here. So if that's what you need in your applications, perhaps you need to use a relational database. Or if you want to use Firebase or another NoSQL database like Mongo, you can use this as your main database, but set up some background job that takes all the data from this NoSQL database into a relational database for reporting. So this is our Firebase database. Next, we're going to get back to our Angular project, install Firebase, and work with this database.